Good to go.
Good. All right. Well, hey, once again, Jack, man, I appreciate you making this happen.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Pat. Looking forward to it.
Just before we clicked on, you said you're dealing with some sick kids. How many do you have and who's sick?
Yes, so we've got a 5-year-old daughter and then a 2-year-old son. And a 2-year-old son is having a little tummy troubles, so stayed home from school today, and so we're gonna tag team it today. It'll be a
Ha-
party.
Has he passed on the troubles to anybody else, or is it not that kind of a thing?
Not yet, but tis the season, right? For
And
airborne illnesses to be passed from children to us. So,
we got three kids. My wife is like she's in the trenches right now with some sickness.
really.
Our middle kid was sick for a while. He had like some hacking cough. And you know the deal. It's funny, like with kids. So the middle kid gets a hacking cough, and he's got it for a few days, and it's like that period of time that lulls you into like, oh, it missed me. Like it's been a few
Right.
days. I'm good. And then he clears up, and you're like, sweet. And then our little girl got something. We're like, too bad she got it. And then she had it for a bit, but like it missed us. And it's because it was like 2 weeks ago. Now my wife's down with something. She's had something
Ah.
like 6 days. I feel okay, but I'm like, oh man, like, is it coming for me next? It's just,
It's the gestation period. It takes longer in bigger people, maybe. So, but I feel you.
oh, dude, it's just never ending. And then, that relates into the whole like just real life, right? Like real life
Right,
just
exactly.
gonna throw curveballs at you, and you still gotta find a way to get fit and work out and all that. So
Uh-huh.
when when we first connected and you gave me like a little bit of your fitness backstory, I must admit I did not expect to hear, the general fitness story that I hear is, yeah, I did this in high school and messed around a bit in college, maybe I dabbled in something else here, powerlifted for a while, and it's like the general
Uh-huh.
story. But man, your first one is you start off saying most of my earliest memories involve hospitals and doctors. That's not
Yeah.
normally what I read when people give me like their fitness journey. So kind
Uh-huh.
of, if you don't mind, kind of let people know what did you mean when you said that that's most of your
Yeah.
early memories.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something I didn't really even realize is that strange until having kids and looking at, oh, like these are the milestones that you're going to be remembered. It's like those are drastically different than what mine were.
Thank goodness.
Right, yeah, praise the Lord. So when I was young, about 3 years old, I was getting real bad stomach aches and headaches. And like we're talking about, little kids are constantly sick because they're licking doorknobs or eating food off the floor.
Right.
But it ended up where it just didn't stop. And so my mom took me to the doctor. He was basically like, "Oh, he's fine, just some bug going around," and it just persisted. I want to say for 2 weeks. And when my mom took me back to the doctor, she said I was laying on the table and just looking at the outline of my abdomen, like she could see just the silhouette on my abdomen. It was like that something is not right there.
Mm.
And it turns out I had a Wilms tumor, so which is a form of kidney cancer. So actually had ruptured, which is what was making me feel so terrible.
So you
So
were walking around with a ruptured kidney.
yes, yeah, or a ruptured tumor. The kidney
Tumor. Okay,
wasn't
okay.
ruptured,
Yes.
but the tumor was, yeah. So rushed in to have my right kidney removed. A little, they scraped off some of my liver, but then just chemo and radiation immediately. So yeah, like it's strange, but one of my earliest memories is like I've got this giant scar on my belly, like it looks like kind of a smirk. And just remembering like they stapled me instead of like stitches or gluing or anything like that, but just
Right.
remembering like seeing them pluck the staples out of my belly. Or
And how
uh,
old?
I was 3. Yeah. So that's where it's like for my daughter, she doesn't understand it, but I was like, you've had 2 kidneys longer than I did. My son's gonna cross that threshold here in about a year. Um, but yeah,
Dude,
just
I mean, for a second, can you just imagine? So, I've got a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, my daughter's 3.5, right? And, now some things you don't get until
right.
you're living that
Yeah.
stage. Oh, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I guess this is just what happened. But now you're a parent, I might try to come off as whatever, tough guy, whatever it is, like, you're good under pressure and all that. But good under pressure is one thing. If my 3-year-old daughter had to go in to have like her kidney removed and have like chemotherapy, I would potentially crumble. Like, and that
Yeah.
stress would potentially murder me. Like, is that crazy? Now you probably have an appreciation for what your poor mom was going through.
Oh, 100%. Just like how gut-wrenching that would be. And especially so much of it too, like treatment-wise, you kind of have to be isolated for radiation. Like you'd put you like on a lead apron basically and make you stand up and in those days they didn't have like 3D printers. Now they can hold you like really still. You just had to stay
Mm,
still up against a wall and it's freezing in there and it's just like yeah, I just can't imagine like having to walk away from your child when they're screaming for you, but they have to have the medical treatment too.
right.
Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I have a whole new respect for my folks
Yeah,
since
no
having
joke.
kids.
And since then, cancer free?
Yes. So they say you've got like a 5-year window roughly, uh, where if the cancer comes back, that it could potentially come back, but after you clear that threshold, the odds of you getting it are the same as anybody else. So there was a little hiccup when I was 9 where I had a weird kind of benign tumor on ribs. So they took out a little bit of 2 of my ribs on like right here. But other than
Like,
that,
I like how your life has been so interesting that as a 9-year-old, you call the removal of two ribs a little hiccup.
well, yeah, I guess. I guess.
Awesome.
Uh, but other than that, I mean, I've been cancer free. I mean, there's been some effects, like my heart pumps a little bit less efficiently from the chemo. So, like some of your workouts, I get a lot more gassed than I would from other peers. But that's also a big part of why I need to be working out as well,
Mm.
just to keep everything going and staying strong.
What is it history? Is it genetics? Is it family history? Like what makes a 3-year-old get a tumor like that?
Yeah, the kind of tumor I had was not genetic. So it's just, I want to say it's one in every like 700,000 or something like that. Just random lot that I just happened to have
Man,
it. And then just happened to have those kind of symptoms and to go back into the doctor. I mean, it was all like, that's where it's like, okay, I definitely believe in the Lord and he's got me here for a reason. And I know part of it now too is to be my kiddo's dad. Like
right.
if my story hadn't happened, theirs may not have. So I definitely could see, wow, like it's just neat. It's neat how it all works together. And I couldn't have
Life is
planned it
not a
at all.
straight line.
Right, exactly.
Like beyond a shot. And sometimes even looking in the rearview mirror, it only makes sense after a while. Like, ah,
Right,
I
yeah.
gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
In the moment, that was very confusing.
Right.
Were you able to be a relatively normal, healthy, happy kid running around playing with your friends after those, chemo and radiation and all that? Or were there things that you just had to not participate in?
So for the most part, yes, I was outside playing constantly as a kid. The main thing was since I have that giant scar on my belly and then missing some of my ribs, my doctor was like, "Your midline is compromised. You do
Mm,
not do any contact sports." So I played tennis for a long time, but yeah, I couldn't do football, wrestling, basketball, anything where there could be some interaction of folks. They were like, "No, don't do it. It's not worth the risk."
okay.
Mhm.
And what do you mean personally when you said that maybe if you hadn't gone through some of that stuff, you wouldn't be in the position that you are right now to be a dad? Like
Yeah.
how do you see those things connecting?
So long, we've my wife and I got married young. So I'm 37. We've been married 13 years now. And she's my best friend and just an incredible person. And I married out of my league, and I'm incredibly grateful for her.
Good for
But
you.
so we were young, got married, and just kind of traveled around, did vacations, things like that, but didn't try to have a family right away. But in 2016, we kind of decided, okay, like now is the time. I think we're good. Let's start a family. And so you do what you do to start a family, and things weren't happening. And so we ended up going to the doctor to see what was happening and found out that just biological children were not an option for us. Um, and I was pretty gutted by it. 2016 was a very challenging for me year for me personally. I was very depressed. Um, and I was about to be 32, 30 also. But each year I'm part of a research program for cancer survivors. And so I'll go in for like my annual checkup. my doctor was just talking to me like, hey, y'all are looking at having a family now. Adoption is really the only route that you have. So you need to take care of yourself. You need to get healthy. And so we kind of
Is it
looked at
safe to
different.
say that you were not healthy at that time? You said that you were pretty gutted, and it was a tough
Mhm.
year, but did you let yourself spiral in a negative way?
Yeah, I mean, I was self-medicating with food, beverage, and sleep is how I would say it basically, and just apathetic for life in general. Um, but we found out about embryo adoption. So I know that a lot of folks haven't heard about that. Think of it like as the back half of IVF. So
Hmm.
things have been collected and combined, and then you transfer them into the mom. So our kiddos aren't genetically ours, but my wife had the opportunity to carry them and have delivery, nurse them. So it's neat. I
Isn't that
mean,
amazing?
but science is incredible. Like,
Absolutely, unbelievably incredible.
uh-huh. So I don't know timeline wise how long it was between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi when Han Solo was frozen in carbonite. But my daughter, like the little frozen embryo, I want to say it was 7 years. She was frozen right when after we were married, so 2011, and then we would have transferred her in 2018. She was born in 2019. So it's just like, man, that is wild. Um,
Mind-boggling.
mhm,
Absolutely mind-boggling. And certainly not to interrupt you, so keep your train
yeah,
of thought, but well, some people just might not realize how common this is, right? Like if you try to have kids and
right.
everything went well, you just figure that must be the norm. But, I'm 49, I'll be 50 next year. My
Hmm.
wife's in her early to mid 40s, and so our daughter's 3.5. And so that was a later in life
Yeah.
as well. And we had some struggles and explored different things. And then only once you start to go down those roads, do you realize how shockingly common it is, sometimes
Right.
trying to have kids. So I mean, I think this is a story that will probably resonate with a lot of folks,
Well, and that's kind of the hope. And that's where I know like there's a lot of shame around it too, or just stigma in general because it is a sensitive subject.
which
And
is
so just
ridiculous.
knowing, yeah, hey, it's all part of his plan.
You
And
guys
again,
brought a beautiful little girl into the world.
right. Uh-huh. And I can brag on how cute they are because genetically we didn't contribute anything. So,
Oh, that's awesome. That's
mhm,
fantastic. And once, you know, what did that doctor, I guess, shot you straight and was like, look, man, you got to pull it together. Like,
right.
you guys want to have kids and you want to be around for this kid. Is that all it took for you? Like the doctor gave you a pep talk and you snapped right out of it, or was it not quite that simple?
I that's when I first joined a CrossFit gym. Well, I had tested it for like a month in 2013, liked it, couldn't afford it really because we were broke. And then 2016, um, careers had changed a little bit, and so we had some discretionary income to where it's like, okay, I can at least afford to do something. And I always thought it's neat how well-rounded CrossFit is and how you can adapt to anything, whether it's lifting, sprinting, climbing. So that was really appealing to me. And so I started going in for about 6 months. I did it, but I was just incredibly self-conscious and comparing myself to others and just not really staying in my own lane and focusing on me and comparing myself to myself
Mm,
versus me to folks that have been lifting for a decade. It's like, yeah, there's going
easier
to be a
said than done.
drastic difference. Right, right. So I did that for about 6 months, and then just work schedule changed to where I couldn't go anymore. But yeah, it basically the bug bit me. Like I was like, oh, I really like this, and I can really get into this. And so 3 years later, basically mid-COVID, my doctor kind of gave me a swift kick in the rear again of like, hey man, like it's great that you did work out, but you don't. And we need you to continue that. We need to get your blood pressure down, cholesterol down. You need to lose some weight. If you want to walk your daughter down the aisle or play with your grandkids, you need to be doing small incremental changes now so that they compound over the next several decades.
Jack,
So
man, sounds like you got a good doctor. There's a lot of
yes.
doctors I hear that don't actually give meaningful, accurate advice, like lifestyle positive
Right.
lifestyle change advice. You got a good one, man.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I cannot sing their praises high enough. But yeah, so and it really stuck. Once I was 33, I joined a CrossFit gym. I can honestly see their roof line from my kitchen. So that was a great motivator too. It's like, oh, it's right there.
Hmm.
And it was mid-COVID, so the classes were tiny. Like there was four of us in our 6 a.m. class for a year and a half. Like it was great. I can't speak highly enough of that gym or that coach, the owner there. Um, then once we had our son, just a second kiddo in the mix, it made it to where it's a lot more feasible for me to work out at home since someone's getting sick, something's changing at work. We're always just juggling. And so it just makes it better for fitting it into the schedule. And I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and was familiar with you from the documentaries, and then had dabbled around just looking at what you're posting. You post the WODs for free, so I'd look at them and try them out every once in a while.
Mm.
But about a year and a half ago is when I was just like, nope, like I'm just focusing on Linchpin, and I mean, it's been great. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I mean, it's my pleasure, like genuinely it is. But what tell us a bit about making the switch to working out at home. For some folks, it's easy. For some people, it's a big struggle. You
Yeah.
know, that discipline to do it, on your own. So what was that switch like for you?
Yeah, it was very helpful for me to go into a gym because I had no barbell experience. So having somebody to be like, nope, you're arching your back or
Mm.
your feet are too wide apart, like having that kind of get drilled into me for a second was very helpful. But then once I learned it, and I don't have perfect form by any means,
Nor do
but
I.
like learning the basics of it and things to be mindful of, the discipline is something that I already have, and I'm naturally a more reserved guy. If you put me in a group setting, I'm going to be one of the more reserved folks in there. So I liked the community aspect of it, but I really liked it when it was those tiny classes and
Mm.
just a handful of us. But really, um, yeah, I had slowly been building up my gym at home over the years, and so once my son was born, I'd pretty much collected everything I needed to be able to do things. And you do a really good job of scaling things or giving alternates to where you can kind of Frankenstein the RX with the wild card, with the scaled, with the Leo, to where you can make it work even with just a hodgepodge of supplies.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? Is to kind of
Mhm.
not only get you fit, but we kind of say like to improve your fitness IQ, your strength and conditioning IQ, which is won't happen in one day, right? But if you watch
Right.
the video each day, if you listen to the
Mhm.
podcast week after week and month after month, suddenly what seemed overwhelming at first, you'll be able to just look at the workout, look at the options, listen to the video that day and go, ah, gotcha. This one fits perfect. Or, you know what, this is close, but I just need to modify it just like this for me. And that's
Right.
okay. And like,
Hmm.
you'll know what to do. And then you'll know that it's actually okay to
Uh-huh.
tweak it in that way, which is a cool, everybody should feel empowered to do that, but shockingly, most people don't.
Right. There's a the freedom aspect of it, and the more I'm at home and having kiddos around now watching me while I'm working out, like there's been a shift in my mindset too of it's playing. Like we're
Mm.
playing. We have the luxury of doing this. So being curious about things like, huh, I wonder if I can do what was the ridiculous 9 back squats at this weight and then
Oh, yeah,
six
yeah.
back squats at this weight and then three. So like that mental shift for me has been very helpful too. And I think part of that is just having kids and we're playing and trying to do handstand walks. Um,
100%.
yeah,
100%. I remember over the weekend we just had that. It was three things, and the first two were not for time. It was like pull-ups and pull-ups and something else. I think one arm shoulder press. Then it
yeah,
was like some strict toes to bar. But the final one, that one was for time. It was like the four
uh,
rounds, 200-meter run and 15 kettlebell swings or something. And
yeah.
I almost made it through the whole workout without being interrupted by kids. I was in the 4 rounds, the only
Uh-huh.
for time. I finished the third run. I grabbed the kettlebell. I was like 6 swings into the round of 15, only had one round left. and my crazy little 3.5-year-old daughter just bursts into the garage and she's running towards me as I'm swinging
Right.
heavy
A
kettlebell. And so
50
the
pound
kettlebell,
kettlebell.
I
Yeah.
set the kettlebell down on the ground, and she's got a lot on her mind and just starts talking to me as I'm sitting there, now not working out. And uh, you know, y- you can get as fit as you want, like just hit the workouts every day, bring intensity when it makes sense and rest and all that. And then there's also different phases of life and I'm at the phase of life now where I got in 91% of my workout that day, 92.
Uh-huh.
And when I set that kettlebell down on the ground and I never got to the fourth round, it just didn't
Yeah,
happen. And you know what? I'm okay.
that's
Like,
right.
it's but it took me a while to get there, the whole
Yeah.
work life, fitness life, like everything's kind of a balance, right? And it's great to have, while it can be disruptive at times working out at home,
Yeah.
they do, like you said, they see you and they learn and like you prioritize things, and there is something special there when you learn how to strike that balance. It's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, and I think it's important too for kids to see you fail, like,
Oh
and keep
yeah.
trying. Like I've been practicing handstand walks for a year, but I'm also not really trying to get it either. Like I feel like if I really did it for 2 weeks, I could probably be handstand walking by now. But it's like anytime we go in the backyard, she knows she's gonna see me like try to do handstand walks for a little while and not do
That's
it. But then
cool.
eventually, like I'm gonna really focus on it and get it to where she'll be like, oh, like you did that for a year and finally you got it. Or
That's
like,
pretty cool.
yeah. So
How
you can
did
be
you build
strategic.
how did you build the gear that you have home? Was it Facebook Marketplace? Was it Craigslist? Did you
Yeah.
buy everything brand new from a website? Like how did you do it?
COVID, there was a big sale for barbells and weights. So I bought like it was a set of 45s, a set of 25s, 10s, fives, and a barbell. And then like those little portable squat stands.
Hmm.
So I got that mid-COVID. And then yeah, just ran in Black Friday sales. Black Friday always has great sales. So just kettlebell along the way, some dumbbells along the way, and then a pull-up bar. Like that was the best purchase. I feel like we do a lot of pull-ups, and that is a beautiful
Man, you can
thing.
get so far with that gear, right? I mean, that's
Right,
another thing too. Like, you don't need a lot of space. And no, if you've got more gear, great. Like, cool.
right, yeah,
Who doesn't love gear?
uh-huh,
If you've got a place to do pull-ups and you've got, a barbell leaning against the corner of the room because you don't the plates are just stacked. You don't even have a
uh-huh,
plate holder, and squat stands. You don't need a fancy rack. You get squat stands that you can just, shove to the side. You
uh-huh.
don't need a ton of room, man. You can make it
No,
happen.
well, and that's awesome. One thing I love on the Facebook group is people posting videos of their workouts and just seeing, okay, like how have they finagled things to work? And then also seeing like Dan put a swing on his pull-up bar. And I was like, that's genius. Like
Yes.
that's just free entertainment, like to keep them contained. So when I'm snatching, I don't have to worry about you running under the barbells.
So awesome.
So just seeing how people kind of doctor things in their own setup is really helpful too.
That was going to be another question I had is, do you kind of keep to yourself, or do you poke around the Linchpin Squad and BTOB or the private Facebook group? What's your level of interaction, in those things?
I'm a great lurker. Like I try to post some, but I'm also social media. It's just a lot of work, I feel like. But that's
Amen,
one
brother.
thing that I really appreciate about the group is that people of all aspects of fitness are posting regularly. So it'll get you fired up when you see people lifting insane weights or kind of competing with each other. And then on the same other end of the spectrum where it's like, hey, I was just happy to be able to do air squats today. And that's where we're
100%.
all just like, yes, you're doing something. We're all doing something.
You did what was appropriate for you.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we get everything under the sun. I try to tell people like we're an empty bar is challenging,
Uh,
and that's cool. And then you've got, Tanner lifting the world and everything in between.
right, exactly. But I have gotten a couple of guys that I work with to start doing linchpin, and
You
one of
stuck them
them,
in.
do what?
I said you brought him into the
That's
mix.
right. It's the long con. Yeah. So one of them, I tell him he's going to be my show pony because he's just an incredible athlete. Like was quarterback in high school and like just seeing him like building up just in the last couple of months, I'm like, oh, you're going to be fun to watch you grow.
That's cool.
Um, But yeah, so it's really fun having him because we live close enough together to where every once in a while we'll get to work out together. But then also just cheering him on and giving him feedback on stuff and vice versa.
That's cool, man. Well, I guess, to kind of wrap it up, I mean, you've had some interesting stuff happening, from what you went through as a kid to struggles with creating a family to, you know, letting your fitness and health go in a poor direction to getting it back on the rails to, the whole nine yards. What would be your recommendation to somebody just that maybe has let things slide too far to the bad direction and they know that they should get back on track, but it seems overwhelming?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is do something. It doesn't have to be CrossFit. Just do something. Something where and doing something half-hearted is better than doing nothing because doing
Absolutely.
something half-hearted consistently, you'll at least see some kind of progress. So I would say find anything, whatever it is that hooks folks to be active, whether that's pickleball, CrossFit, running, walking, whatever. Um, but find something that you can find joy in, do it at least half-hearted, and then track it too. That's how you can be fair in comparing yourself. Say, I mean, our miles. Tomorrow's workout, I am dreading, where we have to do this interval sprints basically.
Yes,
But I
sir.
know, like, I am in some sick level of me. I'm excited to do it because I know, like, it may not be better, but it's at least going to be close. And odds
Yeah,
are
you
it
put in the
probably is going
work.
to be better. Right. So that's me running in my own lane and comparing myself to me, so that it's how you can find joy and see growth. So yeah, I would say find something you enjoy and then tr keep track of it.
Man, I actually really like that. It's so true, right? Because it can be so easy that, some people who get into CrossFit become crazy zealots and everything
Right.
has to be CrossFit. I think that's such great advice is like, just do whatever you like. Do you just love to jog? Then go jog. Do you just
Yeah,
love soccer? Do you just love kettlebells? Then get a darn kettlebell. Like, do, but because you're right, you'll have a better chance of sticking with it initially if you actually don't dread it, if it's something that you do.
exactly.
Just
Right.
move your darn body
Uh-huh. Exactly.
and
Mhm.
let it become a habit. And then if you want to build down the road, cool. But if not,
Yeah,
you got off the couch and you're doing something, that's a win.
right. That's right. That's right.
100%, man.
No.
Jack, I appreciate it, brother, and I love getting to know people in the community, and I mean, you get a lot going on with work and multiple kids and all that, and I appreciate you making the time, man.
Well, thanks, Pat. It's all part of you. Like you put that Pat Sherwood secret sauce on it, and that just trickles down to the entire community. So we're very grateful for you and just what you've fostered here.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, but I can't take credit. I don't know why. We just keep getting really cool community people
Yeah,
in Linchpin. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it just keeps happening, and the more people I meet, it just solidifies that we're just gonna keep doing whatever it is that
that's
we're
right.
doing because I like the folks in there. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, have a great day, Jack, and I will see you online, my friend.
You too. Thanks, Pat.